Yo amigo, what's crack-a-lackin'? This is one of the few workouts that I've put together for you, Hazel, to be able to help you to basically rehabilitate and get back onto your feet. These few workouts that we're going to be focusing on initially are mainly going to be focused around improving key posture points like making your shoulder health better, making your hip health better, and making your knees a lot better, making sure that everything's tracking on point. There will be more advanced exercises as time goes by, and we'll see how you respond to the stuff that we first get into. But for the moment, you might see this workout as being a little bit simple compared to the ones that we used to do back inside the day. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Like these kind of exercises that we're going through right now are going to be able to get you to a really good point, and they're also going to help to work on some issues that would have still benefited us in the past anyway. So the first exercise that we're going to get into is one called the overhead raise. It's a banded overhead raise. And then we're going to be getting into the 45-degree pull apart. So the banded overhead raise is an exercise that looks like this. You just get your arms out, you put plenty of pressure against the band, so you want to open them up by about 4 or 5 inches, enough to be able to clear your arms over your head. And you just slowly lift your arms from in front of you, pull your shoulder blades back, and raise your arms straight above your head as far back as you can go. When you're doing them, every single time you bring your arms down, you want to reset that shoulder position. And when you're lifting it right up, as you come to that high end point, it's okay if your upper back rounds back a little bit. If anything, that might even help you get a bit of a better contraction, because as we go up to the top here, as we're raising it all the way up, our shoulders are getting a lot of stress, all of our muscles of our rotator cuff are getting a lot of stress. But right around here in the mid and the lower trapezius, so kind of in between the shoulder blades, that very end point, get activated at the end range of the shoulders movement, and also helps to bend the thoracic spine. So if you do lean back a little bit at the top there, it's all good in my books. So yeah, you're going to be doing that. We'll be looking at doing a set of 10. And then immediately after doing them, you're going to get your arms, put plenty of pressure against the band so we're already wide. We're going to go straight up to 45 degrees in the air, and we're just going to do some gentle pulses against the band. Every single time, making sure that we bring the band back in and we don't let the band to snap our hands back into the centre. There should always be tension on the band. We're pretty much going from wide to wider, and that's a good way to think about doing this exercise. These are really going to help to strengthen up the muscles that are in between the shoulder blades, like the low trapezius, the mid trapezius, but mainly the rhomboids, which is a muscle that is kind of just on the top of the shoulder blades there and runs upwards of the neck. So if you ever have any issues with posture from like your head leaning forward, this corrects all those issues. Super good. And getting into these and getting stronger with them means that when we go into overhead shoulder work, your shoulders are going to feel great. The next thing that we're going to get onto is the seated abduction, which you've done before. It's an exercise for your glutes, mainly the glute med. All you're going to do is get a band, wrap it around your knees, stand with your feet fairly wide apart, so plenty of tension is taken out of the band. And from a neutral stance, try and go as wide as you can, and then let your knees come in as much as you can. Go as wide as you can, let your knees come in as much as they can. We're going to be looking to do about 20 reps of these. Well, anything between about 15 and 20 reps is going to be a good target to go to. And as usual, I just recommend that you just go through your bands, like from the weakest one upwards, and see how the burn is, because I remember when I first started doing these, or taking a while off doing them, even just doing like the middle resistance band is quite a challenge if you're doing these in a really controlled manner. The next exercise we're going to get onto is going to be some seated leg extensions. So what you're going to do is you're going to get yourself your thin red resistance band. You're going to tie a little knot around it, just like so, and then you want to feed that underneath the door frame and put a chair next to it, or you can feed it at the bottom of one of your balcony posts and put a chair against it. You feed it through the centre, and then you lift your band over your foot. At the end here, at the very end of the band, you do a little twist and put that underneath the balls of your toes. This way it prevents the band from flicking up your foot as you're doing the set. So if I sit right back in this chair now and extend my leg, there's one other little thing. You want to put an object, like something like a couple of books or a toilet roll, just some kind of solid object underneath your leg so it's propped up. And then when I extend my legs up, there's a nice big contraction when the leg comes up to horizontal. And as I'm bringing it back down, because we've inclined the leg, the foot is able to drift a little further backwards. So straight up until you feel a big contraction at the top, nice and slow down, and we'll be looking at 3 sets from anything from about 10 to 20 reps of those. The next thing that we're going to get onto is calf raises. So you just want to do these from a standing position. I'd recommend that you do them at the bottom of a staircase, but if you just want to do them on the ground for now, that's absolutely fine. Well, I'd say from the ground, you need to have a stretch point, so you want to be leaning forwards. So if I was to just lean against the door, I would be from here, and if you can see my feet, I'd want them to be leaning straight over forwards, so there's going to be shoulders or above my toes, or if I had anything a little bit further over, and then hang in the stretch position for 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then press up as high as you can onto your tippy toes. Every single time we're at the bottom, you want to hold that stretch position for the 5 seconds, and then go straight up. So if your calves are particularly tight at all, it'll do you well starting off from a standing position, just leaning forward a lot. If you find that your calves aren't super tight, then just doing them on the end of a staircase or on the end of some books is going to be absolutely fine. I'd recommend that you're doing anything between 5 and 10 reps of those at a time, and looking at doing 3 sets of those as well. So maybe you want to do something like, in fact, you know what, let's just run over all the reps and sets of everything again. It's going to be 3 sets on everything. We're looking at doing 3 sets of 10 on the overhead raises, and we want to do them supersetted with about 10 reps. Like, if it's alright if you start off a little bit less at first, but 10 reps of a 45-degree pull apart. After that, you want to be doing about 15 to 20 reps of the seated abductions. After that, we want to be doing about anything between about 10 and 20 reps of the leg extensions. And then after that, we want to be doing 3 sets of 5 to 10 on the calf raises, with a 5-second pause at the bottom of each rep. So yeah, that's pretty much everything for this workout here. I hope that you find all these exercises just like a nice little way to get reintroduced to the world of training again. And yeah, let's get on to path to recovery. Much love.